Now, in this gallery has a little bit of a different sort of thing to it. Now, as we walk in here,
the lighting is incredible in here.
The
lighting
dark.
is incredible.
They have all down lighting over each one of the cases, so as you walk into this gallery, there's not as much didactics, not as much to read on the walls. This is more of a visual impact sort of gallery.
It's a dark room, and everything is floodlit, I guess, in red. Well, I don't know how you did this.
Now,
it's got a red flake to it.
Now, what this is a process called corrosion casting. So this is a casting of the torso, of the blood vessels of the torso. So what they've done is they've gone into the blood vessels. All right, they go into some of the major arteries. Maybe they'll go into the aorta, or maybe the carotid artery, or something like that. They will fill up the blood vessels with this polymer. Okay, and they'll actually use something that has a certain amount of pressure on the syringe, something like a caulk gun that they'll actually put on there to have a certain amount of pressure to be able to force all of this polymer into all the tiny capillaries and everything. And then they'll put a catalyst into the polymer to make it harden. And then they put this in the body into a solution that will dissolve away all the soft tissue, and what you have left is a casting of the inside of the blood vessels like this.
And these are the lungs here?
These are the kidneys.
Kidneys, I'm sorry.
And this is the heart right here, and this is the descending aorta.
We've got the heart right here. Okay, kidneys, okay. But how did it become, did I miss it?
They add the red dye, yes. They add
so it's a red dye in here?
Yes, yes. And what they sit in, and they sit in a fluid here, they sit in a formalin, which is a solution that is mostly water. It's about 99–98% water and a little bit of formaldehyde. And the formaldehyde is not to preserve it so much as to keep bacteria from growing on it.
But there's fluid in there, but nothing is floating. Everything is, it's not kind of shifting around. It's stable there.
Yes.
And everything, it's sort of like flowery. There's sort of a floweriness to it. I'm afraid to touch anything, but it's encased in. But I'm even afraid to touch the case. Yeah. Not that I'm afraid.
You can see the loss of little tiny bits of capillaries down here.
This is human drops here?
Yes. Well, this is all. Now, something to understand about this, that this is not actual preserved tissue so much as it is a casting of the inside of the blood vessels.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Because all the actual tissue has been dissolved away.
Okay. Now, if you want to have, we're going to have. I'm looking for a way to say put the arm on you, so let's put the arm on you.
There's the arm on you. Now they left the bone in on this one. Now you can see what they did here is they went into an artery and they filled those up with red, and they went into a vein and they filled that up with blue, so you can see
the arteries and the veins.
The artery, kind of make the differentiation between where those are running.
And this again is in a case. And the preservative, I guess, is in there, whatever it is.
The galleries.
Whatever the fluid is in here.
Yes.
The galleries are now open.
Yes.
And we're looking at, okay, now the middle one over here is all red. Arteries. Okay, what does it say here? Arteries and bones of the upper limb. And now we're going to come to arteries of the upper limb.
And this is just blood vessels of the upper limb, and you can see once again they did the white, they did the blue and the red, and I believe the white right here is just where it didn't go in.
And these are arms. These are actual arms. Okay.
Someone's actual arm. Now I'm going to move you over here to one of our most frequently asked questions. Sometimes we just like to stand around this specimen just to answer this question because everybody's going to ask this. The arteries of the jejunum.
The jejunum?
Yes, jejunum.
Jejunum?
And the first question is, well, what the heck is the
What the heck is a jejunum?
The small intestine is actually divided into three sections: the duodenum, the jejunum, and the ileum. Jejunum being the middle one, and that's a little cross section of that. So you can see the arteries of the middle section of your small intestine.
Jejunum.
Jejunum.
Okay.
AKA your jejunum.
Okay.
I was going to move you over to our full-bodied specimen, which I think is one of our fantastic. Now, this is the only one that doesn't sit in water. I'm not sure why. Maybe the case wouldn't hold it. I'm not sure why they don't put this guy in water. But you'll see there's considerable loss of, some of the tiny blood vessels down here.
So that's actual blood vessels we're seeing on the floor of this case.
Yeah, but even so, you'll see. I'm not sure why they didn't put this guy in water. Hey. Okay.
And it's in red. It's a red tone to it. Again, the dye, whatever. I think we're getting a note. We just got a note that we have to move along now.
Yes, right. We do. And I'll take you into this next gallery. Well, let me show you this guy right here real quick before we go through. I think this is just one of our most spectacular ones. The bronchial tree and the pulmonary veins. And I just think it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. I mean, it looks so much like a piece of coral, you know.
It's like coral in there.
All of our
It's the
bronchial
red
tubes.
and white.
Yeah.
These are the bronchial tubes.
Uh-huh. And a few blood vessels also.
Right.
Yeah.
And then what's over here?
And this is the same thing, but they keep the heart on there. Now you can see how they have one side of the heart blue and one side red. You know, one side receives the deoxygenated blood, and of course one side pumps out the.
And this is an actual human heart.
Oh yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
It's actually.
Now
Okay.
we're gonna move it to
The brain requires 20% of the body's total blood supply. And we have to move along. You
I like
just
this one
kind of
right
got
here.
the.
There's 60,000 miles of blood vessels in your body.
And every drop of blood in the body passes through the heart once per minute.
Now, 60,000 miles of blood vessels, that's enough to wrap around the earth 2.5 times in one of those little things.
And how does that? How can
We're entering our
do not smoke area?
Our do not smoke area. It is our respiratory gallery. If you look right to your left right here, these are our smoker's lungs. And if you look right across the way over there, we have our little case right over here with a little didactic on the wall. On average, a pack of cigarettes takes 2 hours and 20 minutes off of your life. And we'd like you to be around a little bit longer. So we have a little case right here where you can throw your cigarettes away. And we just got that in here I think Thursday before last. It was the Great American Smokeout, the American Cancer Society's day, where everybody's supposed to stop smoking at least for one day. And we got this on here. We had a little event here, and so we've been slowly filling that case up, and hopefully we'll fill the whole thing up and throw them away. And, you know.
Do you smoke?
No, I quit.
Okay. Since then, since this?
No, I quit just before I started here, actually, ironically enough, and it was a good thing.
Smoker's lungs with heart. Wow, look at this.
Yeah, this is probably one of the most visually stunning. I mean, it has one of the strongest impacts on our customers or on our guests as any one of our specimens. I mean, people look at this and they're like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? I got to quit smoking, or
sure.
Either that or they say, geez, I need a cigarette.
Section of lung with emphysema. Okay, and
now
then
you can see this guy over here. This is the actual lung with cancer, so you can see the tumors.
all these tumors. There must
All
be
those little
about.
brown spots.
There's a few, couple of dozen of them.
Yeah, pretty bad.
Wow. Holy cow. And the spleen filters blood and fights disease throughout life, and veins have valves to prevent blood from flowing backwards.
Yeah, they have nice little
Backwards.
examples of the spleen. Spleen is a fantastic.
Is this a healthy?
Now, this is not the healthy. The healthy's right behind you over there. This is
The healthy
an
lung is
example
tuberculosis.
of tuberculosis, which is one of those diseases that a lot of people figure, well, you know,
gone now.
that it's gone now. But no, I mean, there's still 14,000 new cases of TB worldwide, you know, every year. And or I think actually 14,000 is that just in the United States? Yeah, it is just in the United States. So
This
it's
is
not
the actual lungs.
the actual lungs. You can see the damage. If you come over here, you can see the damage. It almost looks like craters that have been, you know, eaten away out of the lungs.
Right. Wow. Well, a section of lung with tuberculosis.
Mm-hmm.
And here you have a section of lung with, again, with, holy cow. And here's a man throwing a baseball.
Now this is the guy I was telling you about. Now you see his expression. You were talking about his expression, or some of the expressions earlier. Now this is one where he actually took the expression off of, you know, like I said, off of a piece of computer animation of a guy who's throwing out a baseball, and he tried to copy the grimace on his face of, you know, the effort of, you know, he's throwing that baseball out there.
And this is a very unnatural thing for the arm to be doing, throwing overhand like that. It's underhand is the natural way.
Yeah.
Overhand is just, your arm is not really built to do this 100 times.
No, that's why most pitchers will probably start off a little bit overhand and kind of come down to the side or come down underneath. You see that? I forget which team you play for.
And did you know the body requires a constant supply of oxygen? The respiratory system provides it. With each breath, blood absorbs oxygen from inhaled air and releases carbon dioxide, a cellular waste product that is then exhaled.
Fantastic.
And we're looking at, okay, is this the heart? No, it's not the heart.
Yes, this is your heart right here. You can see the bladder right there. Okay. Diaphragm.
Right.
Okay, and it goes under. No, I think the liver should be tucked in under there. If you can see it, probably not.
Holy moly, Sam, can't go. Okay, and here's a good.
Yeah, these are our healthy lungs. So we do have a set of healthy lungs, so you can actually see
right
what
here.
they look like when they don't have TB or you haven't been smoking. You know.
So what happened to this? Just got hit by a cars
Sure, something like that. Yeah, you never know.
Well, you see, it doesn't pay not to smoke.
Yeah, I know. Especially in this city, you know what I mean? Here in New York, even if you don't smoke, you can still get
Oh yeah, you're
all
still
kinds of
smoking
respiratory diseases.
And here's a guy splitting.
This is a really interesting specimen of the face cut in half like this. The same
You have
guy.
a cut in half face.
Yeah. And there's your 16 muscles connected on one end.
Over here in the middle.
Yeah, see that right there? And if you look right down in there, that's the larynx. You see how it has an arrow pointing down in your larynx, and it goes right down to your voice box.
Where is this?
See this tongue, the tongue cutting right in here? And then you follow my shadow right there.
Oh, right there. Okay, on to the left. Okay. So you're looking at, this is the same person, but the head is sectioned down the center.
Mm-hmm.
So he's looking at he's looking at it himself.
He's looking at himself, yes. If his eyes were open, you'd see himself.
Right, okay.
Interesting
and just kind of laying like as if in sleep.
Yeah.
And the eyebrows are there, it looks like.
Yes. Now, they've left the eyebrows on most of them just to sort of complete the face. Now we're looking at this guy who's been cut in half. He's one of our poster kids. We put this guy on a lot of our posters. You know, he's on a big poster out in our lobby.
Right.
If you look over here, you can see this guy's lungs. You can see he was a smoker.
Look at the blackness there.
Yeah.
Holy cow. And this is the heart right here.
There's the heart and the diaphragm. The liver right here is the gallbladder.
Again, you're coming to the navel here. He's kind of with his hands on his hips in a, and he's split right down the middle.
Right down the middle.
Right down there, and you see that pinkness there.
Yeah. You can see the throat split in half right here. You see that?
Right.
And you can see the spinal cord coming down right here.
How did they cut this person?
Now, a lot of these guys are cut with, of course, meticulously with little knives, with scalpels and things like that. Some of them are cut with lasers.
Little brain. Holy cow, the brain there.
Yeah.
And a smoker.
Yeah.
And he's the tallest one I've seen so far.
Yeah. Now, this is really amazing. I think this is one of our most amazing.
This is all one person.
Dissection, all one person. You can see the center viscera is all on this one pole, and he's been split into three pieces. The center viscera, his front half, and his back half.
So on the left, we're looking at the back. We're looking at the spinal column. We're looking at the
femur.
Femur.
Largest bone of the body.
And the back of his head, and you see the brain.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the middle, it's kind of like, it's almost not flat, but kind of flat. And it's almost like how do you describe it? It's a flatness, like the person's been flattened out, the mid part. And then you're looking at his front. I hope I'm describing this properly. And was he a smoker?
He was a smoker, as you can see, yes.
He was a smoker. So most of these people that you have are smokers.
Yes.
And then you're looking at the front half. It's almost like a mask kind of thing, the face.
Almost like a mask. In fact, it is quite like a mask. I've never really looked at it. Of course, I wouldn't want to wear that mask.
No. Okay, so...
Not a mask you want to wear. This is an example of the entire digestive system. I think we should check this out real quick. This is, I think, a fantastic dissection. It starts all the way from the digestion, from the tongue, and of course it comes all the way down. And this is the very complex one, like you see all the organs here. And if you step over here real quick.
Okay, moving along to digest. Ingest, chew 10 to 30 times, swallow 4 to 8 seconds, churn 2 to 4 hours, absorb 3 to 5 hours, compact 10 hours, several days, eliminate.
Eliminate.
Is that the digestion?
Yes, that is the process of digestion. Nature's best disassembly line. One of the world's most effective disassembly lines. The digestive system breaks down food we eat, converting it to energy for ourselves.
Okay.
Now, once again, the same thing. Starts at the top with the tongue, and with the food, and goes into the mouth, all the way down into the stomach right here. You see the stomach, liver. Now, something interesting. It goes into the stomach, all right, and then it goes into the small intestine, all right, and then blood from the small intestine is absorbed back into the liver, and the liver converts those sugars into usable energy for our cells. Okay. So that's why the liver's in there, because it actually is part of that digestion. And then you see the small intestine, see where it connects to the large intestine down here in the bottom? And then the large intestine comes back around over this way, and then it eliminates.
And we're looking at the penis right there.
No, that's the poop chute.
The poop chute, okay.
Yeah,
Got it.
That's the rectum.
Of course, the rectum.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Dr. Ruth, for telling us what that was all about. And I think
ironically enough, actually, Dr. Ruth was in here just last weekend.
I had her on my program about 10 years ago.
Did you really? Yeah, she was in here just last week, and really, really nice lady.
She's wonderful. Hi, Dr. Ruth. She was wonderful. Great interview.
Yeah. So what you're looking at here is an example of an overweight person. She's one of our only people, one of the first women you'll see, actually. You'll see another one in the next gallery, another one in the next gallery, but up to this point you see only men. But this is an example of somebody who has an awful lot of fat tissue on them. You can see where they store it here in their arms and here like in the buttocks, hips area, okay.
And this is, she's cut in 4.
Yeah, she's cut into 4 pieces. And her skin is left on. She's one of the only specimens who still has her skin.
What happened to the feet?
As you can see, the feet have been cut into sections like that, so they look a little bit odd like that. So you have a little part of the foot here.
The front part has got 3 toes, and then you go back to the 4 toes, and then if you get back there.
Yeah. It's only the 3rd part there that has the last pinky toe over there.
Right. And so this is her. So this is her skin here. You're looking at her breast, and holy moly, look at this. Where's her face?
Yeah, they didn't actually put that section on. They cut the face off. It's not there.
Any particular reason? Just for...
Not that I know of.
Just for, whatever the word is I'm looking for. Okay, so this woman was hefty proportions.
Yes, and they just try to show a little example. Now, obesity of the I like this didactic that's on the wall over here. Obesity of the upper body, which is much more common in men, is a greater health risk than obesity of the lower body, which is much more common in women. So women will carry their weight a little bit lower, while men will carry their weight on their gut.
Right.
Okay, and women will carry it generally a little bit lower on their hips and butt. Let me show you this real quick before we move to that gallery.
Okay, moving along, you're listening to Visions, a series of visits to almost everywhere. I'm your host and fellow traveler, Herb Malsman. Our body is the exhibition, and our host is...
Richard Hinojosa. Now, like I was telling you, we have a few, exhibits here that kind of exemplify the lifestyle choices. Smoking. This is one about drinking. And poor diet also, of course. Now what you're looking at here is a cirrhotic liver, a liver with cirrhosis. Somebody who was a very heavy drinker. You can see this is in some of these are in more advanced stage than others, and this is in a very, very advanced stage, and this one's not as much, but it's in a little bit earlier stage.
Okay. And it's the bumping. What am I looking for?
What you're looking at is the scar, because the cirrhosis is actually scarring your liver, scar tissue. So what you're looking at is actual scar tissue on the liver.
And this is a healthy liver right here.
This is a healthy liver, and this is a fatty liver. Now, I can't even imagine having a liver this big in your body. I mean, this is a gigantic liver. And obviously, it's just to build up of fat cells in the liver. And this can be due to many things, really, not just poor diet. It can be due to
and what is this back here in the fluid, in the case? The case within a case.
Oh, those are the
portal systems.
Yeah, the portal systems. So these are the vessels in your liver.
The vessels.
Yes.
Okay, let's just take a really quick break. I know that the gallery's open now, so we have to move along. Let me just check sound, and we'll be right back on. It sounds great. Richard, you're sounding great. You haven't heard this yet, but it sounds really great. I'm using a Sony, a new piece of equipment, Sony VO something, really, I can't make it out. Clear voice. It looks good. Nice little item.
This is our reproductive gallery. Okay, we've left our digestive gallery. Now we're in our reproductive gallery, and we're looking at an example, like we haven't seen these all throughout, but an example of the male body. Well, what's interesting about this guy, with this particular thing, once again, as I was saying before, everybody is unique, and everybody's going to have something unique about them. This guy has an enlarged heart. You see? His heart is very, very big. He's also a smoker, you can see.
Look at the black, and what happened with the ear over here? He's kind of like split down on the
looks like
left
he has
side.
Kind of a skull mohawk kind of thing.
Skull mohawk.
He has this piece of skull going back over the middle. His brain has been removed. There's a piece of muscle that's still hanging off, but it's sort of flapping down to one side.
Why is it hanging? Is it for effect? I mean,
just for effect, just so you can kind of see, a little bit past that.
Okay.
See what's in there.
And then the enlarged heart and the wow.
And you can see the lung right here, and the liver. but mostly the enlarged heart is, I think, one of the interesting things about this specimen.
And folks, although closely associated, the reproductive and urinary systems serve different purposes. The reproductive system's purpose is to ensure the continuation of the species. The urinary system's purpose is to collect metabolic waste products from the blood and remove them from the body. I didn't just make that up.
Right.
It's a didactic?
Didactic.
Didactic, okay.
You're in one of our didactics. Let's move on to, well, you know, these are some of, because like I said, we have 22 full-bodied specimens, and we have a bunch of these partial-body specimens. This is another example of one of our partial-body specimens. This is the female reproductive system. Okay.
And urinary?
Yeah, well, you know, that's going to be all part of it. Okay. But of course, this gallery, of course, is trying to highlight the reproductive system. So what you're seeing here is, you know, the ovaries right here. All right.
Is it the ovum or ovaries?
This is the ovaries, yeah, on either side. You see the uterus right here. You see the oviduct that goes to the ovaries right here.
And this is actual size.
Yeah, and the actual
shrunk down.
Well, yeah, absolutely, actual size. You see the external genitalia here, the vagina, with the skin still left on.
Okay, I see that. Right, okay.
And you can see another example over here. Same thing, but this has little portions of the legs and the leg muscles still kind of connected on. The external genitalia, the vagina, and as you go inside, you kind of see some of the same things, but you can see them more kind of within the muscles and fascia that they're connected to, as opposed to this specimen where they've actually been removed completely.
This woman also seems to have been of a generous proportion, perhaps. The leg, would that be correct?
Perhaps. I don't know. She looks pretty small to me. I'm not sure.
Yeah, okay.
It doesn't look like she has a whole lot of fat tissue to make.
I see a lot of, the legs seem to be, there's a thickness to them. Perhaps I'm not seeing it properly.
Yeah. Yeah, the legs seem pretty thin. Looking at them, they seem pretty normal.
Okay.
I don't know, fairly normal, I don't know. Okay. Hard to say. This is actually pretty cool, the cross section, so you actually see inside the uterus, and you see inside the cervix right there. See that? A cross section of the clitoris right there, you see that?
With
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Made a point to point that out to us.
Okay.
Very nice of them.
Yeah.
Okay. And moving on, we have, of course, the male organs, and this is the same sort of dissection where you have one that has all the musculature and fatty tissue still connected on, and here's one where all the male reproductive organs have been just removed. Starting at the kidneys here, coming down.
Is it the kidneys?
Coming down here, you can see how even the uterus here kind of go down to the testicles. Now you see these seminal vessels come right behind the prostate over here. Okay, you can actually get a much better shot of the prostate over here. So here's the penis, comes back here, and the penis, and you see how seminal vessels go right behind the prostate right here.
The prostate being
this right here, prostate gland.
Okay,
right there. A lot of men, of course, have problems with that later in age. So there's a lot of folks who come in here and say, "Oh, there it is. I see what I'm."
Yeah, there's what my problem is. What's this in the red dye here?
That's a testicle with the blood vessels of the testicles. Been removed, similar to how they were in the circulatory gallery, in the same way. This is a really cool specimen. Now what you're looking at here is a normal set of breasts, and you can actually, they cut away so you can see sort of this spongy, sort of spider webby tissue that holds on the mammaries, that holds on the breasts. Interesting tissue. It's a very unique tissue.
Let me just shut down for 1 second, check the machine. We're being told that people are coming in, so we have to move on because we don't want to take away from their appreciation of what's going on. And the reason why I changed over, we were running out of tape, so I just changed the tape. So let's go back to work here.
Okay. Well, I need to go and lead in a school group, so I'll have to leave you now. But let me lead you into, or you can actually hang out in this.
And this is a healthy breast.
Healthy breast. and a breast with breast cancer, actually very advanced breast cancer. So most of the pathologies we're showing here are going to be, the diseases we show are going to have pretty advanced state, just to kind of have the shock value, or at least,
Okay, I'm going to let you go. We're looking at a female right now. We're looking at the intestines. And there she is, right here.
Let me go deal with this group, and I'll be right back. Feel free to hang out here in the galleries and kind of describe what you're seeing here. But
You got it. Okay, so you'll be back then. Yeah. Okay, don't leave it alone here. Okay, so Rich is going out now. There's a school group here. He's going to be guiding through. We're looking at. I'm going to assume one person cut down the middle, and high-fiving each other. And it's one person, I'm assuming. Surface anatomy and palpitation. This specimen helps us understand the relationship between the surface of the body and the bones and organs beneath it. And let's read some of this. Some of these little notes here. Here's a diadactic. While every other cell in the body has 46 chromosomes, the female sex cell, the egg, and the male sex cell, the sperm have only 23. Only when the egg and sperm combine is a new cell created that is capable of developing into a human. We're looking at on the wall here, reflected light onto the wall. This is the male sperm, is the smallest cell in the body. The female egg is the largest. Some notes here. Some flashbacks, I think he said flashbacks. A woman is born with all the eggs she will ever have, and a man continues to produce sperm throughout his life. The kidneys filter more than 1 liter of blood per minute, or the contents of a large soda bottle every 2 minutes. So kind of here by ourselves right now, air conditioned, I guess you can hear that. I suppose that's what it is. We're passing this woman again all of short stature. She doesn't look more than 5 foot, perhaps a little bit shorter. Please pause a moment and consider if you wish to enter this gallery. It displays the stages of embryonic and fetal development, as well as some birth defects that occurred during this time. All fetal and embryonic specimens in this gallery perished in utero from complications during pregnancy. If you choose to bypass this gallery, you may proceed to the next gallery by using the door at the left. So let's kind of walk in here. It's much darker in here. The case lit up. We're looking at, we're coming along here. All these specimens are in fluid. Fetal bone development, 15 weeks. There's a fetal bone. We're looking at 15 weeks, okay? And then fetal bone development, 13 weeks. It's starting to take, been taking human form here. And we'll hope to get, again, Richard back. Pregnancy at 24 weeks, we're looking at a woman pregnant 24 weeks. A cross-section on one of her breasts. And you're looking at, you can actually see the baby, and again, this is all real. You're seeing the baby you can see the fetus. The uterus of this female torso has been opened to expose 24-week-old fetus within. I don't know what happened here, but moving along. These are very small tubes. That one was large. Fetal bone development at 12 weeks. And then you have a fetal, and I can't make that, it's kind of dark. The fetal specimens exhibited in this row have been treated with alizarin, a red dye that binds to calcium. This treatment helps measure the stages of skeletal development. The fetal skeleton begins as cartilage and fibrous tissue, which are then replaced by bone. Looking closely, you can see dark lines indicating areas where bone has developed. The majority of these specimens' internal organs were first removed to better display the stages of bone growth. You're looking here, there's some people joining us here now, so I'll try to keep it low. Here's fetus at 32 weeks. This is an actual fetus at 32 weeks. Then fetus at 24 weeks. A fetus at 14 weeks, very tiny, arms up to the throat, hands clutching the throat, of course in the fetal position. Fetus at 9 weeks, very tiny indeed. And placenta of twins, you're looking at the placenta of twins here. And placenta, the fetal side, placenta, you see the veins, arteries. And moving along, we're towards the front where we came in now. A bifid spine, bifida, perhaps bifid spine, spinal bifida. So this, apparently this is, spinal bifida develops during the first month of pregnancy. It is a congenital defect in which the embryo's spinal column does not fuse properly, leaving the spinal cord and its productive membranes vulnerable. In some cases, the spinal cord and nerves are exposed at birth. While surgery can repair the opening after birth, the resulting nerve damage is permanent and may lead to paralysis of the lower limbs. With proper care, most children with spina bifida live well into adulthood. So this poor child did not, and again, I'm assuming that this is a true child. This is a conjoined twins. Conjoined twins are identical twins that do not fully separate from one another in the womb and are born sharing an organ or section of skin. Because of this, often only one twin will survive during attempts at surgical separation. These individuals are frequently called Siamese twins after two famous conjoined twins, Eng and Chang, 1811 through 1874. So they lived about 64 years, who came to America from Siam, modern-day Thailand. They made a name for themselves and for all conjoined twins, traveling with P.T. Barnum's circus. Okay, we've been in this room. I guess we'll just kind of walk out now because Rich is busy. So we're at this. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut tape right now. We're gonna take a break, and then we'll wait to hook up with Richard again. And as you can hear people coming through, let's take a break. You're listening to Visions, a series of visits to almost everywhere. I'm your host and fellow traveler, Malsman. We're at Bodies, the exhibition. We're waiting for our guide now, and I don't see him, but we're just going to cut tape and kind of sit for a moment and get ready to close out this fascinating look at this amazing exhibition. Let's cut tape.